Amazing. Rebuilding the family by rebuilding the man. I have with me Michler. Ryan Michler, not Ron. Ryan Michler. And Ryan is the founder of the Order of Man. Ryan, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, it's an honor to be here. I'm looking forward to the conversation today.
Right on, man. Um, Explain to me, what is the Order of Man?
It's an organization I started 5 years ago, really with the goal of giving men the tools and resources and conversations and information they needed to step up as husbands, fathers, business owners, community leaders, every facet of life. So we've been going for about 5 years, actually exactly 5 years this month. And it's been going strong, which is a testament to the power of what we're doing and the fact that men want to learn how to be more capable men.
What are the tools to becoming a man?
I would say a tribe is definitely a tool. Finding other men who are doing what you want to do, who are succeeding on the home front, on the business front. But then there's other facets of that: physical fitness, gaining knowledge and information, being able to apply this stuff, being strong, capably. Morality is a big component of what it means to be a man. There's so many different components of what it takes to be effective.
And when you say morality, how do you define morality? What do you mean?
Virtuous living, somebody who's moral, who is honorable, who has integrity, who attempts to do the best. When he messes up, he fixes that, who has a sure footing regarding what it is he's supposed to be doing, has a desire to lead and serve other people. These are all facets and elements of morality.
I know, I know, but most men are doing those physical things, right? They're going to work, they're providing, they are exercising, they're working out at the gym, they're doing all those things, and yet they're not. They're still beta males. Why hasn't that worked for them, or why isn't it working?
I think most of society, or at least a large swath of it anyways, has conditioned men to behave that way. It seems to me that society in general, whether it's the educational system or the government, uh, and just culture, pop culture in general, would like to emasculate men and ask us to behave and be more like women. And too many men have bought into this notion and are trying to be peaceful and pacifist, and yet they've let an element of themselves go, which is the fire and the fight and the desire to battle in one form or the other and really take what's theirs. So I think the pendulum has swung in a lot of ways from these strong warrior archetypes to docile, domesticated creatures who color within the lines and do what they're supposed to do. And that conditioning starts very, very young.
How is it possible for the world to convince men not to act or be as a man, but to act and be as a woman? How do you convince someone to let your manness go and become a beta male?
That's a really good question. Like, why would you do that? I don't know
Right.
if a man voluntarily does that, like decides that, hey, I'm going to be passive and I'm going to be domesticated. But I really feel like it's in a way breaking down a wild stallion, right? Over years and years of indoctrination and doing what you're supposed to be doing, and then the undermining of masculinity in pop culture and media and the television that we see, the shows that we see, anyways. That this gradually happens over a course of a decade or decades. And a lot of times men don't even realize what's happened until it's too late. Eventually, hopefully, they wake up and realize that they're not performing the way they should. There's no satisfaction and fulfillment in their life. And they're looking for an alternate strategy, which is to actually step into their masculinity and manhood.
So you founded the Order of Man, uh, because you saw what was happening around you, that they were becoming beta males rather than men.
Yeah, I think that's part of it. I mean, if I'm being frank, a lot of it was to help me with my own problems that I had in my life, the
Right.
relational issues that I had with my wife. My career wasn't really performing the way that I wanted it to, and I was not experiencing the results that I had a desire to experience, and the results that I see other men experiencing in their lives. So I started a podcast, like I said, 5 years ago, to have conversations with incredibly successful men so that I could learn from them and get the coaching,
Right.
and decided that if I was going to get that coaching, I could make it available to other men. And here we are 5 years later with over 20 million downloads now at this point, which again is a testament that guys are looking for the same thing
Yeah.
I was looking for at that time, which
Yeah.
is the path.
I read that you were a Iraq combat, that you are a Iraq combat veteran, right?
Correct. Yes.
What was it like going through that?
That was a wild experience. I went to Ramadi in 2005 and 2006. I spent about a year over there between Kuwait and Iraq, and there was a lot of challenging times, a lot of demanding times. It was one of the hotbeds for the insurgency at the time, and there wasn't a day that went by that we didn't get attacked with some sort of small enemy fire or mortar or rocket fire, and so there was a lot of trial, and hardship that came with that.
Did you
But
develop the post-traumatic stress thing, disorder, whatever they call it?
No, I don't. Not the way that most people would look at it. Which is a veteran who maybe is incapable of performing and functioning in society. That's what I think of when I hear PTSD. But to
Right.
say that those experiences don't change you in some form would be a lie. They certainly do, and they make you consider a different perspective you haven't realized or considered before.
So did going there and fighting in that war, whatever it was, did it change you in any way?
Yeah, it made me realize the stakes at which we're playing in life. I think too many people play small. They don't realize how fragile life is. They don't realize that this is at some point this life, this game will end, and so they drone on in monotony. They do jobs that they hate. They have miserable relationships. They don't take care of themselves, and they just kind of let things go. When you have a perspective that life is fragile, and you've seen death, and you've seen injury, and you've seen these types of things, it changes you to take it a little bit more seriously and really make something of yourself, because we don't have a whole lot of time here.
When you were in the military over in Iraq, and were you a beta male, even though you were a strong soldier?
How do you define beta male?
Couldn't really deal with life itself. Would be afraid to speak up, or couldn't handle your wife, or you just inwardly you didn't have the courage to be a man and stand up.
I would define myself, and this might fall into what you're talking about here, as somebody who wasn't willing to take responsibility for my life. I
Yeah.
pawned a lot of the responsibility and the burden, and if things went wrong, it was always some external factor, whether it was, a boss or my wife or the economy, and I never really learned to take full responsibility and accountability for my own life and my own actions. So, if that falls in line with your definition, then I would say, yeah, I was definitely in that camp.
Beta.
Yeah.
So, so let me ask, what is a man besides being a male, the physical part? We know about that part. What is a man?
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you say, besides the physical part, and we know that. It's unfortunate that even is misconstrued these days,
Right.
but it is. But yeah, that is the prerequisite. You have to be biologically a male. Right?
Yes.
But being a man is significantly more than that. It's the morality component that we talked about earlier. It's certainly a male who's decided to take accountability and responsibility for his life, and somebody who's capable in all ways of protecting, providing, and presiding leadership over himself, the people that he loves and cares about, and those that aren't in the or don't have the capacity to do it for themselves. That to me is what it means to be a man.
Do you have perfect peace?
Do I personally?
Yes.
Peace with what? Peace. Maybe you
Within.
can be more specific.
Do you have perfect peace?
I'll say this: I'm comfortable with where I am. I'm not necessarily satisfied with the results that I've produced, and there's always bigger and better, whether it's in the walls of my home or in my community or business. But I feel like I'm on the right path. I don't get everything right. I try to make amends and rectify the situation when I mess up, but I'm confident and at peace knowing that I'm on the path to being the type of man I have a desire to be.
As of right now, do you have perfect peace?
That's my answer. I mean, I don't know. There's so many ways to define that.
So you don't know if you have perfect peace within.
No, I mean, why? Nobody has perfect peace.
I do.
Nobody that's ambitious, anyways. You know, like
Right. You can't be ambitious and have perfect peace.
right,
Ambitious people don't have perfect peace. That's why they're ambitious.
right.
They're trying to replace
So
it.
I would say no,
Oh, okay. And why
because I
don't,
have a desire to do more.
amazing. I have a text here. Um, Someone want to know what about the military taught you to be a man? How did the military teach you, or did the military teach you to be a man?
Yeah, a lot of ways. You know, if you were to go back to basic training, even realizing to take accountability and responsibility for yourself, but also for your team and the people around you. That's a big component. Responsibility is a huge component of what it means to be a man. And then part of my role there in the military when I was in Iraq was base defense. So we had a base that had roughly, at any given time, 5,000 Marines and soldiers that I was responsible for making sure that they were secure within the confines of our base. And when the stakes are high, and if you mess up and you don't do what you're supposed to be doing and you don't fulfill your role and responsibility, it's not that somebody has a bad day, it's that somebody dies. Right?
Right.
Dad doesn't get to go home.
Right.
So
I see. Are you married, Ryan?
I am. Yeah, it'll be 16 years this year, in fact.
And are you able to deal with your wife the way a man should deal with a wife?
I don't like that term "deal with."
Why not?
Well, I don't think it's something that I have to deal with. It to me, it has a negative connotation, like something I put up with.
Are you the head of your wife?
I'm the patriarch of her and my home. Absolutely.
So you're the head of your wife. Does she obey you?
I wouldn't use that term, but she honors me.
What does that mean to honor you?
It means she respects my my decisions. She respects my choices. She follows me, and I've earned that over the course of 16 years.
You had to earn it from her?
Yeah, yeah.
Amazing.
I mean, I don't think anybody's entitled to respect necessarily, especially a spouse. You've got to earn that through small victories every single day with yourself and with the family and everything you're doing.
Did she earn respect for? Did she earn the respect that she has, that you have for her? Did she have to earn that for herself?
Well, I think there's a general level of respect that we ought to pay to everybody, but an intimate level of respect that we have certainly has to be earned, and there's been times where that's been undermined, but for the most part, yeah.
So she had to earn it from you as well for herself?
Yeah, no doubt.
How do you deal with her when she wake up in the morning mad about nothing, or just have that woman attitude, and how do you deal with that?
Depends on the situation, I guess. If it's something I can help with or something that she needs help with, maybe she's got to bounce some things off of me and she just needs a sounding board. I can be a sounding board. Or if she needs an idea or a thought or solution, I can provide that as well. It just depends on what she's after.
Why don't you like the word obey?
To me, it subjugates an individual, right? Like she's required or obligated to, and she's voluntarily decided to.
She is required and obligated to obey her husband.
I disagree, but that's okay.
You have kids?
We do. We have 4 kids.
Really? And do you protect your children from your wife?
In what way?
You know how women would turn the children away from the father, they play victim, and the kids identify with the woman, and now they think the father is the bad guy. The father doesn't know what happened. And the women are very emotional because women don't have love. They're very emotional, and they tend to traumatize the children with that emotion, especially when you're not looking. But in most cases now, because most men are beta male, they'll do it in front of the kids too. But when the father's not looking, they really impatient with the children, impose their will on the children, and kids can't handle that. are you protecting your children from that?
That's a very broad generality that I don't find to actually be true. Certainly not in my wife and most of the women that I've dealt with.
Do you pay attention to you? Do you ask your kids how was your day with your mama?
Of course, yeah, I'm here. She's here. Of course, those are conversations we have.
And do you correct their mother in front of them when you find out that she was impatient or she caused them to become upset? Do you correct your wife in front of them?
I guess if my wife and I had a disagreement with the way that she was reacting to the children, her and I would discuss that and come to a general consensus.
Would you ever correct the wife in front of the children?
In the right circumstance, in the right situation.
You would? Have you never had to do that?
Not that I can think of.
How
right
long you been
offhand.
married?
16 years.
You got to pay attention, Ron. How old are your kids?
16 years seems to be working pretty well.
How old are your kids?
They range from 11 to 3.
Oh, okay. Do you agree with me that women don't have love?
No, I don't.
Do you believe that they do have it?
That they have love?
Uh-huh.
Absolutely.
Where do they get it from?
Divine. It's divine.
Who?
Divine. It's God.
Oh, they get the love from God?
That's where it comes from.
How do they get it from God?
It's innate. It's in all of us,
You think there's love in women?
men and women.
Is it possible for a woman to grow up with love if she was not close to her father?
Yeah,
How is that possible?
because I just told you it's within all of us.
Is it possible for a woman to grow up with love if she resents her father?
Yes.
But how can you resent the father and expect to get love from? How can you resent the father and expect to get love from the creator when the father represents the creator? Is it possible to hate the father and still love God?
Sure.
How is that?
We all have different relationships with different people. Just because we have one relationship with one individual doesn't mean we don't have a different relationship with somebody else.
Are you a Christian?
Yes.
But God said that you cannot, unless you love your earthly father, you can't love him. You don't love him because how can you say you love him and resent or have anger at your earthly father?
Like I said, it's within all of us. It's innate. It's there. It's present.
Amazing. What is love?
That's an interesting question. What is love? I actually don't know how to answer that. I mean, I know how it manifests itself, but I don't know how to answer that question specifically. What is the definition of love?
And when you say, I know, but I know how it manifests, what do you mean by that? What does that mean and how does that happen?
It manifests itself generally in service. That shows up differently, but the way people serve others, the way that they serve and take care of themselves, the way they treat other people, the way they treat their responsibilities, the way they shoulder their burdens, the way they take seriously the tasks and chores and challenges and jobs that they have, all is a manifestation of love for themselves and other people.
Where did you get that idea from?
I guess it's a culmination of a lot of different places. I couldn't point to just one.
Why do you believe that?
Because it served me well.
Amazing. I know most people, they do serve, they feed the homeless, they help the kids, they love the animals, they do serve, but most people still don't have love.
Like I said, I disagree with that. I don't think that's true. How do you define love?
I'll answer that, but I want to ask this question first, and then I will answer that. Is it possible to have love without being born again of God?
Yes.
How is that possible when only love can only come from God?
The Holy Spirit. It's in all of us.
It's in you, but it's not going to operate if you're still a son of Satan. If you've not been born again.
No, I don't agree with that.
Why not?
I think it's within all of us, and it's there, and it manifests itself, and we have it as a gift of God, and it's there.
Do you believe that we are born in sin, meaning that we end up in a sinful family and be screwed up? Do you believe that we?
Oh, of course.
And
Adam fell.
And do you believe that we must be born again, meaning overcome the mother and return to the father?
Yes, I believe that we need to accept Christ and God in our lives in
Did
order
you
to return to Him.
did you overcome your mother?
I am working on that continually.
Have you by doing what?
Oh, well, are you familiar with John Eldridge?
No.
John Eldridge talks a lot about this book in Wild at Heart, which is learning to separate yourself from the mother. This is as old as man himself in the form of masculine rituals where the young boys are literally separated from their mothers and indoctrinated, if you will, or ritualized into the fraternal brotherhood of masculinity. And so these are things I'm working on.
Can you separate from your mother without going and forgiving her for what she did to you?
That would imply that I guess I'm not going to answer that question because it just depends on what you mean by what she did to you.
You know how mothers tend to traumatize the children with the lack of patience or intruding over their lives, trying to live through them, and the lack of patience, turning them from the fathers. Have you gone to your mother and forgiven her for the way she raised you, the lack of patience, or imposing or turning your father away? Have you forgiven her for those things?
You keep asking these questions in different ways that come back to the same root of the issue, which is that you believe women have done that. I don't believe all women do that. And that certainly hasn't been my experience.
Uh, did your mother do uh, make mistakes with you while raising you?
Of course.
And have you gone to her and forgiven her for those mistakes?
Oh, of course. Yeah.
You told her, I forgive you for mistake, whatever mistake it was.
Hmm.
Amazing. And I read that you grew up without a father. You write about growing up without a father figure.
Yes.
Where was your father?
My mom and him were divorced.
And what was it like growing up with just a mother and no father there?
I didn't know any different. I didn't have a different frame of reference. So I really didn't look at it and think, oh, this is bad or this is wrong. You know, it wasn't until later that I realized, having a strong male influence in the home would have been a good thing.
Did you
But I don't feel remorse for that.
did you yearn for your father? It was just like emptiness, and you knew it was for your father. You wanted your father,
Oh, of course. Yeah, no doubt. I think every son wants his father.
a son and daughter. But so, have you gone to your father and forgiven him for not being there?
Uh, yeah, as best I can. He's passed away at this point.
But before he expired, did you have a chance to do that?
Not fully, not as much as I would have liked to.
Okay. Do you still have that void as though you're longing for a father?
No, I don't feel like.
You don't feel that emptiness?
No.
Do you ever wonder, being a Christian, why is it that you don't have perfect peace?
No, that is an issue that has crossed my mind.
Okay. So you asked me what was love, right? Is that right?
Sure.
Love is a man that love was right, a male who love was right with all the heart, soul, and might. He lived by that, and he's guided by that, and that can only come from God. So when you are born again, you overcome the nature of the mother, and you return to the nature of the father. Then God's love works through you, and you love. You are only of love because it comes from Him, and it's not based on anything that you have or don't have, or friends that you have or don't have, or where you live or anything. But it's the love of returning to the Father and letting the Father love through you to love others.
Yeah, but what I'm hearing you say is love. Like I don't know how you necessarily define that.
It has no emotions. You can't feel it. You can't taste it. You can't touch it. You live by it. It's a light unto your feet, which comes from God.
So if you can't feel it or touch it or taste it or it has no feeling or anything to it, how does it work in your life?
It guides you like a light. You know, if you go outside, like the light on in your room, you can see, right? Where love is the light of God within you, and it guides you in life in all things. And you
I can
have
see
no
that.
fear, you have no doubt, you have no worries, you don't think about yesterday or tomorrow because it doesn't exist. you're able to live in the light of love right in the present and deal with everything with that.
Sounds good.
Right. I appreciate you coming on, man.
Yeah, glad to be here. Thank you for the opportunity.
What state are you in?
I'm in Maine.
In Maine. Oh, okay. Well, I definitely appreciate you coming on, and I'm glad that you're doing something to help bring the man to some type of attention because men falling away from manhood, and it's desperately needed. Because
Most definitely.
if men don't return to their natural state of order of God in Christ, Christ in man, man over woman, and woman over children, the world is gonna it's gonna only get worse because women don't have love. They receive love from the man as he receives it from God. And if men have not overcome their mothers and their minds been renewed, they overcome that emotion. It's just two women together, really. And the woman is their God because men hate their mother. They hate all women. When you hate, you become like what you hate. And so the woman is the man God when he resents his mother. He end up marrying his mother. He deal with her like a little boy. But
Yeah, I can see that.
if he forgives his mother, God will forgive him and renew his mind and take away that woman's nature, and he will return to his natural nature, the one he had before he was traumatized by his mother. But unless that happened, he's not going to be any good.
It's a interesting perspective, and I'm definitely gonna have to ponder on that a little bit more.
Yeah. Yeah, smoke on it. We'll talk again, man.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you.
All right. God bless you, Ryan. How can people get your show?
Orderofman.com is our headquarters. You can find us there.
All right. Thank you, Ryan. God bless you, man.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I enjoyed talking to you.
Me too.
All right. All right, folks. I got to take a quick break. When I come back, super chats and straight to the calls. Amazing. And don't forget to like, follow, tweet, subscribe, and share the Jesse Lee Peterson radio show, folks. We really appreciate it. We are at war. It is a spiritual battle for the soul of America. And it's going to take all of us to do it.